to Petite to Queens Claim Your Career Crown podcast. I'm your host, Lynn Whitbeck, and today I'm joined by our special guest, Chantel Murphy. And we're going to be talking about future ready leadership, thriving through change and uncertainty. And wow, do we need this right now? Because we've got a lot of change, we've got a lot of uncertainty. And if you get a ton of value from this episode, I'd love to invite you to subscribe because it costs nothing to subscribe. Now, a globally sought after leadership speaker and executive coach, Chantel brings over 2 decades of corporate experience and nearly 20 coaching certifications to her work. She is the author of Influence Yourself and Leadership and Life. And Chantel, I'm so thrilled to have you with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lynn. I am so happy to be here with you today. Thanks again for having me.
Well, it's going to be a pleasure. And this is such a great topic for what we have right now, right in the world. But I want to take a step back and ask you what inspired you to go down this path that you're currently on.
That is a great question. I worked in the corporate world for over 2 decades and I had a phenomenal ride. I met some really incredible leaders that shifted me, that put me in the position towards where I was able to really come to work and say, this is my home. I was really so happy about the culture that we were able to build together. And then I just saw that kind of melt away over the years. I just started to see this cannonball effect of leadership. And I really was concerned for my coworkers. I saw them, they used to be so vibrant and happy going down the hallways. And then they started to just get burnt out. And it was almost like a mourning sense. And I said, there has to be a better way. Better yet, there is a better way. I had a solution, but I wasn't able to solve it on the inside. So I had to leave, create my own company, and get almost 20 certifications. And then I returned. I returned like a superhero. Like, I'm here to save the day. I'm here to save you guys. Give me a minute and we can be able to rebuild something back up. And that's my gift to the economy, is wishing you well in life. That's not only the name of my business, but that's my term and my coin of endearment.
Oh, well, that's amazing. That is a great backstory. And it really highlights what's really motivates you and fulfills you. So, this topic of future ready leadership, how do you go about creating that? What are some of the building blocks? What are some of the first steps?
Well, one of the first steps that I always tell my clients is remember the problem that you solve. A lot of times when we're in business, we forget the problem that we actually solve, and we want to always remember that. And remember, the problem, it will evolve. It will evolve into something else next month, next year, and definitely next 10 years from now. So always keep in mind the problem that you solve and think of ways towards where you will be able to always solve that problem effectively. You want to be able to solve that problem before they even know that they have a problem. It's like, oh, like you're almost like a dog whisperer. Like, how did you know that? How did you read into my mind? And you want to be able to do that. And it's really like a hybrid approach. Focus on the problem that you solve, and also, too, making sure that you are always integrating your junior team leaders with your senior team leaders, because the junior leaders, they're always going to know about emerging trends, emerging things that are going on, and we want to be able to partner with them at all times. And I always say that it is very important that you have a team that is diverse, multicultural, multi-generational. That way, when we're sitting down and we're able to look and have solved problems, we're able to solve them in real time. But one of the most effective ways is getting on board and building a pipeline for young visionary leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I mean, I've been hearing a lot about lately is, for people who are getting started and they're looking to get positions, it's it can be really challenging because it's like there's this catch 22 of you need to have experience, but you got to bring people on so they can get experience. And so, when we're in this time, which we have a lot of chaos, that's the word. How do you help people, you know, adopt this thought of thriving through change and uncertainty?
And I think that's a great question because even though there might be this chaos and this hysteria, it's always best to just stay calm. And I always tell individuals the best way to thrive is to build a resilience room within yourself. You have to build up that resilience. And for senior leaders and new leaders, that resilience is going to look a little bit different. Like Lynn, for example, if it is a senior leader, that resilience is them building up something towards where they don't get burnt out, where now I'm creating this metaphoric furnace in them so that their fire can stay lit but they're not burning out. It's a difference. And for new leaders, that resilience is them overcoming self-doubt, is them overcoming not knowing that institutional knowledge, but they're building something necessarily from scratch. So resilience might mean two different things, but when you do have that resilience, it does give you the confidence and the opportunity towards where you are able to thrive. While everybody else is in panic mode, now you're in a state of zen and you're able to make diplomatic decisions. You're not able to make decisions just off of panic or fear. As you know, when you make those decisions, usually it may not be the best decision or you're going along with the crowd. And that's the last thing I want anybody else to do is to go with the crowd. You have to be different and innovative. That way you will be a model to be best practice. Who doesn't want to be a model to be best practice?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I realize that's a rhetorical question, but it's so true, and especially now with everything that is going on, um, I mean, this idea of thriving through change and uncertainty is truly urgent, and adopting resiliency, which is really great, but it's also that other side that I love, which is not just going with the flow. I mean, or going with the crowd. Uh, and so, where do people, really manifest that? And whether you call it chops, moxie, but or that confidence, um, that really future leadership.
I think it's important, like I always tell out of my clients, like, what are not only your goals, we all have goals, but what are your professional desires? A professional desire, it has a lot more weight to it than just a normal goal. And once they start to talk about their professional desires, you see this smile on their face. You see like this form of confidence, this form of they must get that done. And I always ask them, that right there, we need to lock that up and bottle that up. And we're going to use that energy to fuel you towards everything else that you're doing. This, put it down in one sentence, and this is your leadership manifesto. So whenever you need a burst of energy, a jolt of confidence, you look back on your one sentence manifesto, and this is going to keep you going no matter what. Sometimes we have to repeat these things to ourselves just so that it can get converted from short term to long term. And like I tell individuals in my program, what the brain does once, it forgets. What you do twice, it remembers. But if you do it for 30 days, that's your identity. If you do it for 90 days, this is your lifestyle. So I really want them to have this as a lifestyle of them being innovative, a lifestyle of them challenging the status quo, that we are going to be doing something different. And when we are in these times of uncertainty, the one thing we know for certain is why we are doing this. And we want to be able to build a team that knows why they are doing it as well. Like I always say, once you face your fears, that's how you truly are able to be fearless. And I teach individuals it's not just as you, as the leader, being fearless, but it's your whole team being fearless. Now you guys are gladiators. And when you're gladiators, it's only the inevitable that you will win. It's like failure is almost impossible.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I also liked one of the things you said because it sounded to me a lot like an affirmation. Um, and of really that understanding that identity so that you can, when you need it for that resilience, when things have gone sideways, you've
Mm-hmm.
got it right there ready,
Mm-hmm.
so that it can help you reframe your mindset, pick yourself up and get back to it.
Yeah, and it's really, I call it like just like their leadership manifesto. Like, this is your big why you're here, why we're in community with each other, why you are making this impact, because we all want to have some type of leadership legacy. Let's be honest, the legacy is the ultimate form of success. But before we can get to that success later on down the road, we have to go all the way back to the starting point, and we have to be able to have that starting point as key, and we want to be able to build good relationships off of that. So it's all just really building blocks. And if you don't have one without the other, that's how a lot of individuals fail. I always tell individuals it's not the entrepreneur business that fails in 1 year, it's the entrepreneur's mindset that fails in 1 year. The business model probably would have been excellent, but it's the shell of the entrepreneur that wasn't able to thrive. It does take a lot. You will face a lot of adversity. You'll hear a lot of no's. It does kind of get a little clunky going from a place where there are systems in place and now you're building these systems out yourself. But it is possible and it's totally doable once you do have that mindset and once you are reassuring yourself on why you are doing this.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I that also sort of ties into what could be holding people back. And from your experience, when you're working with someone, or a team, I mean, what have you seen as a common, sort of blind spot or just a hesitation?
I've seen a lot of hesitation just with some of the senior leaders where they feel like they have the institutional knowledge so that they have the forecast for the trends on what's going to happen in quarter 3, what's going to happen in quarter 4. But no one has this globe, this magic ball. We need to be able to work together. And I love to partner some of the senior leaders with the junior leaders. And I really find it amazing. Like Lynn, I had worked with this company a little while ago, and the executive, he wrote a note to his EA, and the EA looked at the note and she said, Chantel, can you help me? And I said, absolutely. What's wrong? And she's like, I don't know how to read this note. And I looked down and the note was written in cursive. And by her being a Gen Zer, she did not know how to read cursive. So I just felt like, these are the things that we can kind of piggyback off of and we can learn from each other. So there's a lot of things that the silent generation of baby boomers, they know, but there's a lot of things that millennials and Gen Zers know as well too. So I don't want it to be competitive. And sometimes, a lot of the times, it can get competitive in the workforce. We really need to be able to work together. Like, I like to partner a Gen Zer who's very tech savvy with a baby boomer who's really curious about the digital transformation but doesn't really have the skills to do that. So I like to partner them together. I like to have roundtables where you do have senior leaders that are providing that institutional knowledge, where they are giving that background information, because as they do phase out, they're leaving with that institutional knowledge, and we need to know that information so that we are able to get that and then propel it onto different things that might come up. When we talk about uncertainty, you're almost not uncertain of anything if you have a strong team and they're able to map out upcoming trends, things that no longer match with your customers' needs. And I think that that's a real way that you really want to do things. You really want to be able to have these strategy meetings at least once to twice a week. And a lot of the times, with the blind spots that some companies have, is they're always in the moment. They're talking about action items from 3 months ago. And it's like, we can't do that anymore. Those times, it just no longer works for us. So we really do have to plan, not just for the future, but the future past that as well too.
Yeah, no. I have to tell you, that statement that you made about not recognizing cursive writing,
Yeah.
that threw me for a loop. I would assume that they still teach kids how to write, and they don't, right?
No, they don't. No, it's been removed from the academic curriculum, and so now they do not know how to. They know how to, like, to sign their names, but to actually read cursive, they do not know how to read cursive.
Wow. I'm really surprised because I mean, I guess the art of handwriting or letter writing and all that, but yeah, obviously it's so much faster when you write in cursive. That's the whole point. Okay, well, that's hey, mind blown, new one for me. Somehow that had never gotten on my radar. I find that absolutely shocking. I'm just going to say. But for everybody else who's probably been surprised by several things that you've said today, not that, but what should listeners do next about thriving through change and uncertainty?
One of the things that they should definitely do is to look at what they problems that they do solve. What problems do you solve? And then look at that and then enhance it. Case in point is let's just take Blockbuster Video. Do you remember Blockbuster?
Oh, yeah.
Blockbuster, they forgot the problem that they solved. The problem that they solved was home entertainment. It was convenient for individuals to stay at home and be entertained. Well, Netflix knocked at the door, and Netflix, they wanted to work with Blockbuster. Blockbuster told them no. And what ended up happening? Netflix came in, entered into the market space, and then they changed the game. Netflix forgot the problem that they solved. Netflix Blockbuster forgot, but Netflix, what did they do? They enhanced it with a future forward strategy. Now, individuals don't even have to leave outside their home to get a movie. Now they can stay right in their living room and they have access to hundreds of movies. So, the thing of it is that you want to think about a way for you to enhance the problem that you solve. Once you're able to enhance that idea, blow it up so that you can be the first one to the party. Once you're the first one to the party, now you are what? Now you're a model to be best practiced. So when you're able to do that, you're able to do that once you do have junior members on your team. You don't just want to just hire a whole bunch of new individuals, but you want to keep your seasoned people there as well too. But one of the best ways that I can say for individuals to do that is to do a summer youth program. There you go. For your summer youth program, have it towards where these individuals will come out with a portfolio or they'll be able to gain a certificate, but put them on projects that you're working on right now. Give them a little bit of responsibility and then see how they can be able to come up with different ideas. You'll really be very much surprised, and then you'll be able to have the knowledge towards where you will be able to move forward in the future. And here's a bonus point: when you do start to think like that, then you can put these items on social media because your customer, they love to see individuals that are working with their community, they're thinking about them in the future, and then you'll be able to get more people that's buying into your business, your brand, and also to your community. People really do love that. And when you do start to put those elements into place, then you're able to start to get some answers in real time.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that diversity of thought and being open to these completely new ideas, and people have different perspectives that you're in the trenches, you truly have a blind spot,
Mhm.
and you don't recognize that. The blockbuster is always that's a huge paradigm shift, right?
Yeah.
And I love how you really made it so simple. They forgot
Mhm.
what it was they did.
Mhm.
And so rather than pivot with changing times and technology, um, they they colossally failed. It's sort of like the Swiss watchmakers
Mhm.
back in the day. They made all the watches by hand. Oh, nobody's ever going to want a watch that's been made by machines or in factories.
Mhm.
And within 10 years, they went from having 90% of the market share to 10%.
Yeah.
It was that fast.
Yes.
And, you know, it's really very intriguing, and I love that. Very It's what is it that what problem do you solve? What is it do you really do for your clients, and keeping that always in that central focus. So, I have to ask you, Chantel, I mean, this has been such a fascinating discussion. Is there anything you wish I'd asked you?
I think that just by us having a conversation, it's just a conversation. I really don't like to have like too many like scheduled questions. I like for things to be pretty much really natural, and it's more like what the audience would like to hear. I'm a talker, I'm a speaker. this is what I do. I can talk forever, but I really want to have it be able towards where like I'm answering quality questions and I'm meeting people right where they're at. I just want to be able to help people, in real time. I want people to be able to get those small wins so that they can get used to winning, and then that just pretty much accelerates itself. So are there any particular questions that you think that your audience might want to hear? Because I'm here for it.
You know, um, I I really think that it's you know, really keeping hope alive too.
Mhm.
There's another side to that about thriving through change and uncertainty is looking for a brighter future.
Yeah, and that is one of the things. Like, I do have my book. It's called Influence Yourself and Leadership in Life. And leadership in life is the same thing. Who you are at work, how you show up at work, that should be the same as how you show up at home. Authentic, caring, unwavering, bold, confident, however that is. And so it really doesn't take away any bit of who you are. You should have the same values, the same mission, just as who you are as a leader in life. And what I really encourage people to do in my book is to influence yourself. Don't get influenced by the media. Don't get influenced by the news. Don't get influenced by some members in your community or some members in your household. Yes, there are a lot of good influences. We want to keep those good influences in us, but also, too, sometimes we're not even aware of the bad influences that we have. And those help create our decisions, those help facilitate how we do take on life. But the more you're able to really take advantage and see yourself and audit yourself and see what is actually influencing you, you'll really be surprised. I've had some individuals read the book and they were like, I didn't even know I was self-sabotaging myself. I didn't even know I was looking at the enemy in the mirror every day because I'm self-sabotaging myself. And a lot of times it happens. So we just need to be able to know what team we are really rooting for and get rid of that inner terrorist that's been terrorizing us with the negative doubts, the feelings, the I'm lazy, I can't do this, I'm too young, I'm too old. Get rid of all those things and just really start to make that move for us. My whole goal, Lynn, is I just don't want for anybody to leave this earth and have an empty experience.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want for everybody to have a fulfilling experience, and we can do it. We can do it starting right now. We
Yeah.
can always turn that clock around, and that's really what I want. Is in order for the economy to thrive and to be fruitful and to bloom, it starts with us as the leaders.
It's so true. That is so true. Well, Chantel, thank you so much for sharing future ready leadership, thriving through change and uncertainty. This has been such a great conversation. I know our listeners are going to want to know more about you and where they can connect with you.
Absolutely. So please send me an email. My email address is Chantel. That is SHAUNTEL at wishingyouwellinlife.org. And if you email me, I have some awesome tools to rev up your leadership. I have an awesome, it's called a reboot workbook, and we can definitely start to talk about the next steps for you because everybody has unique needs.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who tuned in today. We're so glad you joined us here on Claim Your Career Crown. This has been a great conversation, which I know you always expect. And Chantel, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.